Hello once again, how are you? I hope you're doing well, that you're having an awesome weekend. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy day, Christmas season, to spend some time with me. I really appreciate it. If you're new to my videos, thank you, welcome. I'm Amber. I love project panning, getting the most out of my makeup collection, enjoying rediscovered favorites and whatnot. So I appreciate you sticking around to check out other panning videos that I've done, or maybe some Pan That Palette finales that I've finished in the past. And if you're returning, I appreciate you so much. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. It has been so encouraging to have you here, and thank you for the lovely comments and just everything. I appreciate you so much. So as we get started with some housekeeping issues, it is a big update. I know the last time that I did a Pan That Palette update was back in, I guess it was October. So I have a lot of progress to show you. Whoop, whoop. I am gonna film a video at the end of December, so you get kind of a bonus peek to where I am. But we're talking about 4 different palettes. So first off, we've got Nobla Cosmetics for the traditional Pan That Palette challenge. We've also got a Z palette, as well as the Juvia's Place Nubian 3 Coral palette, and the MAC Warm Neutrals palette that we're going to talk about. So lots going on here. Let's begin with the Nobla Cosmetics side by side nude palette. I have spent so much time, literally it's taken me about the last 2 years to pan this palette. And like I said, keep in mind the last time that I updated this was back in, was at the end of October, maybe mid-October. I'll have to go back and look. So just like if you're going through your own panning journey and you're wondering how long it takes to use up eyeshadows and whatnot, this is going to be substantial progress from last time. All that I have left remaining in this palette is what's left of the matte black shade in the bottom row called Untitled. I have been using this as a liner shadow for the past 2 years. I've used it in my crease. I've done mixed it in a Franken shadow to make the charcoal that's going on in my outer corner. Speaking of which, if you want to have some encouragement to wear a gray smoky eye, I filmed the Get Ready With Me for this specific look that really hones in on the Juvia's Place Nubian 3 Coral palette. I'll go on and link it up here in the cards as well as in the description box below. So if you want some inspiration, feel free to check that out. I also filmed a What's in My Makeup Bag type video with all of the products that I wear on my face, along with that gray smoky eye. Just if you're wanting some helpful suggestions, especially when it comes to concealer and whatnot, because the fallout with gray eyeshadow is a thing. So like I said, feel free to check those videos out. I'll have them linked up here as well as in the description box below. So thank you in advance for taking the time to check those out. But as far as what's going on here, let me give you a picture of where I was last time with that Untitled shade. And then here is where we are currently. So you can see that side by side going on here. I could not be more thrilled with what's going on with this palette. I just have the little bit of what's left on the left-hand side of this palette, so that as I'm thinking about things, I'm going to go on and do a finale video for this at the end of December, early January, because I know I'm going to continue wearing it to set my liner for the rest of the year. But I figure when I get to that point, I'm going to be able to take whatever's left, and I'm going to be able to Franken shadow it with a gray eyeshadow to make a charcoal that I will easily be able to finish off in 2024. So I'm going to go on and call this palette done when we get to the end of December. So that feels amazing. Stay tuned for that finale video to hear my thoughts on what it was like to pan this palette and just add it to the experience of going through yet another brand of shadows, kind of my thoughts on it compared to other formulas. Because I know I've panned Urban Decay, I've panned Lorac, I've panned Kat Von D, I've panned MAC, I've panned, Juvia's Place shadows now, Stila, Too Faced. I've got a pretty big repertoire of things and like experience of knowing how formulas are going to kind of work and operate. I've even been able to get through some Natasha Denona, so that's exciting. So that's where we are with Nobla Cosmetics. Then going into the Better Together Pan That Palette, we'll go into the Z palette next. I have been very diligent with this palette, and this Particular project was started by Paula, or a beauty guru made me do it. I'll have her info linked in the description box below. Check out her content. It is awesome, and another way to stay motivated to continue enjoying your collection. If you're jumping into this project now, the premise of it is that you choose a palette that pairs well together with other palettes, so that way you get some tandem progress on multiple things at the same time, but then you also get to mix and match things. So if you are the type of person that you want to change up your formulas, you want to change up your shades, you want to do, you know, just kind of have more of a, I don't want to say a freestyle of panning palettes, it's an awesome way to really get some joy out of your collection. So this is where I was the last time that we spoke. Excuse me, that was really rude. And then here is where I am now. I mean, again, this is several months worth of progress. As you can see, where I have really been diligent. I have been using this highlighter shade right here. This came out of a Too Faced peach palette that came out long time ago. I mean, I'm thinking it's like the Too Faced peachy matte palette kind of vibe, because when I looked at the shade name of it, I was like, woo! I can't remember if this was like peach palette or sweet peach or peachy matte, but it's been around. It's been around a while. So I was finally able to hit pan in it. I'm continuing to use it every day. I use this to highlight my inner corners as well as my brow bone. It is not a noteworthy shade. It is boring, it is basic, but it's beautiful. I love to go for those kind of shadows because they are easy and simple in terms of pairing them in with whatever palette I'm you know, particularly kind of concentrating on. So that's been really sweet. Also too, this is the charcoal shadow that I was talking about, that, you know, if I have anything that's left in that matte black shadow from Nobla, I'm going to continue pairing it with a gray eyeshadow to make more of the charcoal shade. I love using this in my outer corner, and then I also line my lower lash line with it. So I'm going to continue using this shadow, and when it's empty, I'll go on and make another Franken version, because I do have actually quite a bit of gray eyeshadow that I'm already kind of side-eyeing to be like, I know how I'm going to pan it. You know, I've got a plan. I've got an action plan. We're going to go for it. The other shadow that I've really made, well, finished. I don't remember if I talked about it last time that we spoke. But I did finally finish the Natasha Denona shade. This actually came out of the, let me get it. This actually came out of the Natasha Denona Triochrome palette. The shade is called, let me see here. The shade is actually called Garmin. And I really, really enjoyed it. It was a peachy, kind of a pinky colored, warm brown. I have found that it is my absolute favorite to wear in my crease. If you're wanting something very similar and you have the Natasha Denona Mini Biba palette, well, kind of there too. I've made a little bit of progress there. It's very similar to this shadow right here. And then there are two shadows in the full-size Biba palette that you could sub in. It is really lovely to wear in your crease because there's enough definition there, but it's not overwhelming, that your shadows will blend beautifully on top of it. And if you're kind of looking into like, are you a warmer skin tone or a cooler skin tone? I know for me, my makeup, I've had to do a little bit of transitioning because my hair is going grayer. So it's definitely making me think on how I'm pairing things together and whatnot, whereas I didn't have to do that necessarily when I was younger. This type of warm brown is very, very easy to make versatile regardless of what's going on with my skin tone. So I genuinely appreciate that. The shade I'm going through lately to go on and replace that transition shade, I'm going through what's left of this little eyeshadow container from MAC called warm brown, or soft brown, I'm sorry. So my goal is I'd like to get as close to finishing this as I can by the end of the year. This is always a staple for me in my collection. In fact, I have like 1 or 2 backups of this just because I know I can always make it work. It is lighter in tone than the Natasha Denona shadow, but it does the job. It's actually what I'm wearing in my transition area today. It's what I've been wearing for the last couple of weeks. I figure, why not? Let's just go through and finish another shadow, see what we can do, and clear out some more packaging from my collection. But that's kind of where we are with the Better Together portions. So another shadow finished. I've got another shadow I've hit pan on. We're working on hitting pan, or like clearing out this eyeshadow pan for a second time, since I had kind of a corally shade in there. And then I did get a little bit more use, you know, in expanding the pan on that bronze shadow. I went through like a bronze phase for a little bit. And then we'll talk about the phase I went through as we get into the Juvia's Place palette, because that's been where I've really kind of made a concentrated effort. But I am very, very pleased with what I have been able to accomplish in here. And as far as next year, I really am thinking about continuing this combination. That is not the word I'm looking for, but I know you know what I mean. I'm thinking about continuing my progress on these palettes, just because I've been very thrilled with what I've been able to accomplish, and I figure, why not? Let's just keep going for it and finish off what I can, because I'm already looking at this purple shade called Manganese from the Triochrome palette, and I'm like, I could pan that next year. I could totally pan that and finish it. Like, now that I've had, this was my very first Natasha Denona shadow to actually like finish. So woohoo! So I'm kind of in this like track mind of, I want to keep going and see what I can do, because I haven't hit pan in very many Natasha Denona shadows because it takes so long in her formula. So part of me kind of wants to pan that Manganese shadow just to see, and I've already got plans for that one as well. So I don't know. I'm not completely dead set in the idea, but I am seriously, considering it. So that's where I am with Better Together. The other thing that I've been working on, kicking it old school. So I've got the Juvia's Place Nubian 3 Coral palette, as well as the MAC Warm Neutrals. And that project was started by Dana and Jessica. So I will have their channels and Instagram linked below in the description box, because I've really had a lot of fun with that project as well. So let's start off with MAC Warm Neutrals. I am enjoying this palette so much, even though it is old. It's been in my collection for an obscene amount of time, but it's good. It's an oldie, but a goodie. I've had success with the shadows I've been using lately. So let me show you where I was last time we spoke. And this is where we are now. Can you see I finished another 2 shades? It feels so good, because MAC, just like Natasha Denona, MAC takes a very, 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 very long time to make progress on, because the shadows are densely packed. So since we spoke last time, I finished my highlighting shade, which was very similar to that Too Faced shadow from the Peach palette that I just talked about in the Z palette, but this one had a little bit more shimmer to it. I loved it. It's actually, is the MAC shade is called Brulee. You can buy it in a single. So if you're walking around Ulta and you want an easy shadow that you can pop in your inner corner and you can pop in on your brow bone, Brulee. That is the name of that shade. It was beautiful. I loved it. It's very, very easy to pair in with a lot of different looks. And again, it is nothing much to talk about on its own, but it is lovely in tandem with other shadows. The other thing that I very seriously worked on is the shade, this one right in the middle, that I believe was... it's next to, is it Amber Lights? No. It's next to Vanilla. Okay, Honey Lust. The Honey Lust shadow, if I can give you a picture of what it looks like earlier. If you're familiar with MAC products, it's very similar to Soft and Gentle. Like literally they look the same on my skin. So that is actually how I went through and used this shadow. I used it as a face highlight. And as you can see, it is donezo. I mean, that is a good feeling right there. It took me many, many months of using it with a fan brush. I would dust it on the tops of my cheeks, down the bridge of my nose, and on my Cupid's bow. It was gorgeous. And the reason I kind of wanted to go through that is because I do have a pan of MAC Soft and Gentle. So I figured that would be a way to kind of get me in the habit of seeing what that shade would look like on my skin. And since they're so similar, now I have, again, I have an action plan for how I can continue panning looks, capsule makeup my wardrobe, and really get some use out of my products. So that was another, it feels so satisfying to be able to call that done. And the last one that I've really seriously been working on is this matte espresso up here called Coffee Brew. As you can see, I only have what's left around the edge. I mean, I really, this is an everyday staple shadow for me. I use it in my brows. If I'm wearing a warmer eye look, I use it to fill in my outer corner. I've used it to set liner shadows. It is a workhorse shade. I always have a matte espresso brown running through my makeup bag. And so once I get done with this shadow, I'm gonna just find another palette that has another matte brown because it is such a go-to staple for me. So to be able to have it done out of this palette just feels incredible. So that's where we are with the MAC palette. It feels good to see this kind of progress. Now, I talked about before that when I get to the end of 2023, I would evaluate it to see how I'm feeling towards it, because like I said, this palette is is old. is real old. And I'm not opposed to like using older makeup as long as it's not irritating to my eyes or whatnot, but I am going to have that conversation with myself to be like, okay, is it really worth sticking it out to try to pan some more shadows? I do enjoy using this matte brown. Well, it's not really matte brown. It's shimmery, but if you knock off the shimmer, this one kind of behaves like a matte brown. I enjoy using that in my crease. And I actually used it with the bronze, this bronze shadow up here from Juvia's place for several months, and I really enjoyed it. In fact, I think I have a picture of one of the looks using this shadow. So let me put it up here so you can see it. But I really enjoyed it. But as far as using like other shadows from this palette, I'm not gonna force myself to use them if I encounter a bunch of hard pan, because the only other one that really kind of sticks out to me that I would definitely see some progress on would be this bronze shadow down here. And to be very honest, I am kind of loving that the Juvia's Place version is a softer, easier to use dupe of this shadow. So I don't know, I'll keep you posted on it, but definitely to have 4 pans completely clear out of this palette feels pretty darn good, not gonna lie. So I don't know, I'll keep you posted on how I'm gonna proceed with this palette, because like I said, it's been around a while, just a while. So last but not least, the pièce de résistance, I'm feeling accomplished with this one, Juvia's Place Nubian 3 Coral. I have really gotten into a good routine with this palette. I have goals. I enjoy panning it. I feel like my makeup looks put together. I love the looks I've created out of it, and I've really come around to finally appreciate the shimmer formula. So get ready for a big surprise. Let's have that picture displayed of where it was back in October, because I've done some damage to this palette. This is where we are currently. I mean, what? I love the shadows. In fact, the armadillo eyes that I'm wearing currently, I'm going through with this on my lid. I have this in my crease. I mixed this with the matte black shadow to make that charcoal shade, and that Franken pan in my Z palette. It's just beautiful. Love it. The other look that I absolutely just have enjoyed, and I intend to pan it in 2024, is this beautiful rose gold shade up here in the corner. I put it over a matte peach paint pot. It's called Art Therapeachy. It is gorgeous on the lid. It kind of has like a peachier vibe, but then there's definite rose gold undertones. And then I use this brown. It's kind of a reddish brown in the crease. Oh my word, it is beautiful. So in terms of pan that palette for next year, I am very very, very, very seriously considering going for this and just going full ham and pan it out on my collection. Because what I'm doing right now is I'm mixing these two coral and orange shades together to make a blush. I definitely know I can finish these two shadows. I definitely know I can finish these two shadows, and I have plans. I enjoy wearing this with that Natasha Denona Manganese shade that's in my Z palette. So that already knocks out more than half the palette. These two shades kind of suck, not gonna lie. I mean, I've had my issues with these two. And then I figure I'm gonna have to learn how to wear this kind of reddish shadow. It looks like a Christmas package kind of deal. So I'm gonna have to play around with it a little bit in terms of learning how to wear it. Man, I've got like shadow all over my fingers. I'm sorry. My fingers look filthy, like putting them in front of the camera like that. It's because I've got makeup all over them. But in terms of like, I'm gonna have a learning curve, learning how to wear this shadow. I'm also gonna have a little bit of a learning curve with this shadow because it is a bronze shadow, but it goes on the skin a little bit darker than I typically like. So I'm gonna have to kind of figure things out, but I don't know. Let me know in the comments below how you would feel about watching me pan the Juvia's Place palette. Would you be interested in jumping in on this with me, following along? Because it's always nice to have friends that are doing this as well. Or would you like to see me pan something else? Because like I said, I'm kind of, you know, want to see what I can do in terms of finishing the Triochrome palette. But man, I've got an action plan if I go for Juvia's Place. Like I definitely can see myself really, really making some serious dents in this. And I've learned a lot about myself, like painting Juvia's Place shadows over the last year. So like I said, get a final gander of what we've got going on here. I have very, very, very much enjoyed going through these shadows, and I've really just gotten into a great routine in terms of using my makeup. So the get ready with me for that armadillo eyes, focusing on this palette. Don't forget to check that out. Like I said, I'll have that linked. And then I'm going to be filming a get ready with me. I probably won't film the get ready with me for like that rose goldy look. Let me go on and put a picture up here of what it looks like in person. I've got a couple photos of it. But I probably won't film the get ready with me for this look until 2024, like film it in January, because I really am trying to wear the gray eyeshadow for the rest of the year and see what I can finish before the end of December. So that's where my headspace is in terms of where my makeup's gonna be, you know, kind of living for the rest of this year, since we only have a few more weeks left of Pan That Palette before 2023 closes out. So yeah, lots of progress, but feeling good, feeling great. I hope that you are having just as much fun with your makeup collection. So thank you. Thank you once again for taking time to check out this video, for keeping me encouraged, for keeping me motivated. I hope that I'm doing the same for you to get you inspired to go into your makeup collection and maybe rediscover some things. I know it has been just the best feeling to be able to really make some progress after a couple of years of not really wearing a whole lot of makeup. I feel like I'm making up for lost time in a lot of ways. So that about wraps it up for now. Be on the lookout. I'm going to be filming some more videos because now that I've figured out a more efficient system with filming on my phone, I'm going to be putting out a lot more content. And like I said, I will be putting out a Pan That Palette finale at the end of December, early January, in terms of talking about the experience I had panning the Nobla Cosmetics palettes. So if you are, you know, going through your collection and you're wanting to start panning palettes, I'll go on and include that playlist. I've had a lot of coffee today, but I'll go on and include the playlist of palettes that I finished, so you can kind of, I guess, if you're interested to see where my headspace is on some of those, if you're looking at picking out different formulas and whatnot, because it does make a big difference. If you're starting out Pan That Palette, there are formulas that I would recommend more over others, just in terms of if you want consistent progress, or if you're the type of person that you want something to last a long time. Like they're all very different, but then again, there's also consistency in all those as well. Wow, that was like a word salad, but that's for another time. That's my dirty fingers. In any case, I hope that you enjoy the rest of your day. I very much look forward to talking with you soon. So until then, take care. Adios.